big weekend for one of his fighters. It's a pleasure to welcome back on the show one of the striking coaches at Jackson Wink MMA in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Mr. Brandon Gibson. Brandon, first of all, great to have you back on the show, my friend. How's all with you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on. I'm just here back in New Mexico, getting settled back in after a big week, very long camps, and refocused now. I have Ray Borg up next against Demetrius Johnson. So, right back into the gym last night and trying to build the next champion.
Definitely. Obviously a phenomenal performance in my opinion. There was a little bit of debate amongst the fans and other media members. Just first of all, how did you assess John's performance at the weekend against Daniel Cormier? For me, I was very impressed in the first round and obviously the finish as well. Just your thoughts as being one of his coaches.
Oh, I couldn't be prouder of John, after a very long layoff and all the trials and tribulations we went through and a very extensive media tour and, a lot of emotion. He went out there and against one of the best in the world, against one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, against one of the greatest light heavyweights ever, reigning defending champion. And we went in there and were able to pick him apart and finish a very resilient champ that had never been finished before. I couldn't be happier. I saw a lot of media felt like DC might have had the second round. We're okay losing a battle to win a war. The second round, we focused a lot on the body shots, and I think that's what really created the opening at the end for the head kick. So John listened well. He was in great shape. He's very disciplined and motivated, and he's going to be right back in the gym later this week. And, we're just keeping John on track, and we're going to reach new levels together.
Definitely. For you as a coach, looking obviously at the first fight against Daniel Cormier, obviously it's a couple of years ago, whatever it is now, have you seen, even though at the time out, great leaps and improvements in John's game?
Absolutely. Even heading into what would have been the UFC 200 fight for us, he made giant strides. And shortly after UFC 200, we were just right back in the gym building. He made huge improvements in his grappling, huge improvements in his boxing, huge improvements in his strength and conditioning. And I think all of that really came together. And on top of that, John has such a high fight IQ. He's always a student. He's always learning, always evolving, always setting up new stuff and testing himself against a lot of different looks in the gym. So it really was a productive time off. And for him to go in there without any ring rust and shake it off and get one of the best performances of his career, I couldn't ask for more.
Definitely. I want to ask you something now, and it came out yesterday, the video of John talking about the finish and how it was going to come about 3 years ago, I think it was, with Daniel Cormier. Is that something that you plan going into the fight, that exact finish, that exact head kick?
It's definitely one that we focused on. We knew DC had a huge defensive hole right there. John's very dangerous in his southpaw stance. And that's kick that he's been repping for years, especially with Coach Winklejohn. And it was really set up, off John, all of John's body work. We didn't get DC to dip hard like he did against Rumble, but we definitely got DC to lower that shield, and we created the opening.
Definitely. How do you analyze that? I heard possibly that yourself and Izzy Martinez maybe look at a lot more of the tape and the analysis. Is that the case when you're breaking down a guy like Daniel Cormier?
I've watched more tape on Daniel Cormier than any fighter I've ever. There's been like 6 or 7 matchups at one time. So, but he's a champion for a reason. He's very good at what he does. So there was a lot of things offensively that we had to respect, things that we wanted to improve on from the first fight, and things offensively that we really wanted to capitalize on. And John's only getting stronger and faster and more technical. Definitely. People tend to forget that he was in the UFC only like 6 months after his pro debut. He's still a relatively young man in this game. For all these champion fights and all this experience in the UFC and all these records he's broken, he just had his 30th birthday. And, you look at DC. DC didn't even have his first pro fight until he was 30.
Yeah.
John still has a long career ahead of him, and I think that knockout that we saw is just a glimpse of the power that he's developing.
Definitely. And, obviously after the fight, John, was very graceful, had some good words. Obviously you've seen a big effect on the team over the last few years, the issues that have gone on. Is it almost an evolution of his character as well? The words he used towards Daniel Cormier, that he's matured an awful lot in his time off?
At the end of the day, John and our entire team have a lot of respect for Daniel Cormier. He's been a great champion. He's been our toughest test in a lot of ways, and he's brought the best out of us as a group and as individuals. So at the end of the day, it's all respect. Even though some very heated things went back and forth over the years, about the fighters, about the camps, we're able to just know that it's competition and be good sportsmen and be good martial artists, and show the proper respect to Daniel and his team at AKA.
Definitely. For you, you've trained, obviously you've worked with John, I think, over 8 years. You've worked with some of the best guys in the world. For you, as an athlete and as a fighter, is he the greatest of all time? Because that debate's going to, sort of pump back in our face now again, obviously after that performance and that victory over Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, how can he not be? You look at the resume, you look at all the champions he's defeated. It's an incredible resume, and he still has so much more of this story left to write. Obviously, there's plenty of greats like Anderson and GSP and Mighty Mouse and Fedor, but I think John's resume and the way he's been able to perform and the way he's been able to come back has outshined any of the other greats. So, yeah, John will always be the GOAT in my book.
Yeah, and there's still more to come, as you said, and I want to get on to that next. There's been talk of obviously Brock Lesnar after the fight, Gustafsson, Volkan Ozdemir had a very, very good performance. What is the process in selection of his next opponent? Is it into the UFC, or you, Greg, Mike, Izzy, everyone going to sit down to speak with John? How does that selection process come about?
Yeah, I think it's what the UFC has available, what his manager Malky thinks is a good business fit, and then it's our team as coaches. We don't really handpick or have a lot of influence in that. Really, we let the fighter and the management and and the promoters work that out, and then it's our job to find the path to victory. So, whatever gets John hyped, whatever gets him excited, whatever gets him motivated to come in and give another amazing camp, that's what I'm all for. And rematch with Gustafsson would be huge. Going up to heavyweight and facing a former champion like Brock, a very big figure in the sport, and they've definitely had their words with each other. I think that would be huge. Volkan has been, really making an entrance in the UFC, sleeping these guys. I've got to train a little bit with him in the past.
Yeah.
He's come down with Overeem, so we're aware of his talent and his capability and potential. But at the end of the day, whatever gets John up, I'm excited to see John just back. He has his belt now, and we're the ones that get to make these kind of choices. So it's a great place to be.
It seems as if, Malky said it yesterday as well. He wants the Lesnar fight. Under the new ownership, especially, we've seen a lot of these fights take place, these super fights, under WME, IMG. Is that the one you would like to see personally as well? Because John seems to want it too.
Yeah, like I said, whatever gets John hyped, that's what I'm there for. Obviously, any one of those would be big fights, but the ones, I don't know what could be bigger than a Brock Lesnar fight right now, and I'd definitely love to make that walk. And I think there's a very clear path to victory on that one. And we saw what John is capable of in this last one, and all the traps he was able to set. And John's a chess player, and I don't know if Brock's a chess player.
I don't think so. Yeah.
He's a big guy. But I would love to see our technique and game plan and strategy up against such a massive force.
Yeah.
It'd be a big challenge.
Who wouldn't like to see that one? Is it about, we've talked about it in the past. I've talked about it with Coach Wink before. The natural progression for John was obviously to go to heavyweight. Is it about going after that belt in the future against Stipe Miocic as well? That could possibly be a potential as well. I don't think Stipe is a fight announced. A super fight. It's the era of the super fights. Is it about the title in the heavyweight division for John as well?
Yeah, John just turned 30. I think there's a lot of different possibilities. and there's even talk of new weight classes, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, of course.
I would love to see John at 195 or like a
25,
225,
yeah.
or even heavyweight. I think as John's career progresses and interesting matchups continue to take place, that we can see John fight outside of the 205 weight class.
Definitely, it's. I think it's something that we're gonna see anyway down the line. I think that Brock one could very well happen. It seems to be on the lips of a lot of people. Obviously, you mentioned there you've Ray Borg coming up as well. You must be super excited about that challenge against Demetrius Johnson. What are the keys to victory? How does Ray go about beating Demetrius Johnson? Do you feel?
I think Demetrius obviously is one of the greats in the sport. He's been the only flyweight champion. I've gone up against him twice before with John Dodson. We had a very close fight, the first one. And then the second one, I learned a lot from Demetrius as well. I think Ray's the guy that can get it done, though. He is amazing in every position. I don't think he's gotten a stage to really showcase how good and talented he is. He's only 23. He's the same age that John was when John won the title. He's made huge growth, leaps and bounds, improvement since he joined up with our team last summer. And he's become like a little brother to me. I really enjoy spending time with him. He's a great man. And I know that we're going to bring home the belt from Edmonton, Canada with us.
What?
I do. I full confidence in Ray Borg. He's just a fighter. He's a fighter. He will bite down. He'll throw hard. He's technical. He's one of these kids that grew up doing mixed martial arts. But he is good in every single area, and I think he's dog enough to take it to DJ and put DJ in positions that he doesn't want to be in, and won't allow DJ to dictate the pace and set the pace.
Yeah, obviously, when you're breaking in the fight as well, you said there you've had Dodson twice. We saw obviously Tim Elliott go pretty close at one point to beating DJ. What is the procedure? Do you feel as though maybe you're at an advantage now that you've had so much experience fighting against Demetrius Johnson with the two outings with John Dodson?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't take anything but those 10 rounds and learn from them. And Ray is a very, very different type of fighter than Dodson. He comes with a very different skill set. But looking at everything that DJ has accomplished and all of his great fights, I still think that there's a lot of areas that we could take advantage of, and that's what we're going to be looking to do on September 9th.
Just a couple more before I let you go, Brandon. I do appreciate the time. Cowboy Cerrone as well, obviously, came up short in that great fight on Saturday night as well against Robbie Lawler. What's next for Cowboy? It's been a difficult maybe period, obviously losing to Robbie, Jorge. What would you like to see Cowboy do? Obviously, the talk of the new weight classes as well might be something the Cowboy could maybe go down to 165 if that weight class comes in. What's the thought process now with Cowboy?
We talked last night, and we don't really feel like that was a big loss the other night.
Yeah.
It was a close fight. It was against a former champion. Judges love Robbie Lawler. They forget of all the body work and the takedown and the ground and pound, the technical precision combinations that Cowboy puts together. But man, they sure do love when Robbie Lawler bites down and swings for the fences, whether they land clean or not.
Were you disappointed with the? I don't know if you've had a chance to watch back the fight. Were you disappointed with the scorecard?
Yeah, absolutely. I still, even though Lawler came out super aggressive the first minute of the first round, Cowboy weathered that storm, was able to, find his own pace and tempo, and I thought he dictated the pace the remainder of the first round. Second round was clearly us. Third round was very close. Cowboy outstruck him, actually, but Robbie had pressure and cage control, and I get it, but I thought we did enough to win 1 and 2. I knew it was a close fight, though. I'm not throwing fit about it by any means. That's what happens when we leave it to the judges at times, but it's a fight that we had fun in. Cowboy had a great camp. He persevered through a lot of injuries and illness, and went out there and walked and got to bite down and throw down with one of the best ever. And this has done nothing but inspire Cowboy. So as far as a name, I don't have anybody in mind in particular, but I know Cowboy will get right back up on this horse. And we had a really good year last year at welterweight. And I think we're going to be able to end this year on a high note. We just got to find the right guy and the right date. And Cowboy's just getting better and better and better. And I still think he's right up there in the mix for title contention. I think he can win 2 and be right back in it. Welterweight's kind of a thin division right now. So we'll see what happens.
What did Cowboy say to you last night on the phone? Obviously a little bit down, I presume, with the fight, but always looking forward to his next fight, as we know the way Cowboy reacts.
Yeah, he said he had fun. He said he enjoyed that fight. He had a good time, and that's what we're all playing this for. Is for the love of the game, and there's not much more I could ask for those guys to go out there and smile, especially Cowboy.
Definitely.
That's when he's at his best. So when he's smiling and having fun, that's what I work so hard and sacrifice for.
Okay, one final one for you, and I do appreciate the time. What do you think is going to happen next with John Jones? I'm going to put a shotgun to your head.
What do I think is next?
Yeah.
Another ass whooping. I don't know who the name is, but you'll be dishing out another ass whooping, that's for sure.
Definitely. Brandon, listen, real pleasure to have you back on the show. Do appreciate your time. Look forward to Ray Borg, obviously, against Demetrius Johnson in a couple of weeks' time. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good one.